So I have invocation, and I just wanted to say that we weren't here with the passing of Minnesota Senator Melissa Hortman and her husband and their dog in a political assassination, and I just think that as we stand for a moment of silence, if we could think about her family and Minneapolis and Minnesota and all of us as we consider the heinousness of that act.
Everybody rise, please. Moment of silence. Councilwoman Hurtak, would you lead us in the pledge?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Miranda. Here. Maniscalco. Here. Hurtak.
Here.
Vieira. Carlson. Here. And Clendenin.
Here.
We have a physical quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to have a motion to receive and file the minutes of the regular session held on June 5th and the evening session held on June 12th. We have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilwoman Hurtak. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? So let's do an agenda review. We've got quite a few changes. Okay. One, I would like to make an amendment to the agenda to add the election of Chair Pro Tem as first order of business. We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, so we have board appointments for, I believe that we need to remove item 70 from the consent agenda. Can I get a motion for that, please?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilman Miranda, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Anybody want to remove anything from the consent agenda?
Well, I know that Councilman Vieira, who is only moments away. Oh, speak of the devil and he shall appear. I know he needed to remove item 1, but I'll let him speak to that.
Thank you. Yes.
Councilman Vieira.
Yes, thank you, and pardon my being late. Thank you. We do need to remove item 1 if we may. Karen Clay had a conflict. So.
Second. We have a motion from Councilman Vieira, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 1 is removed. Okay.
I would just like to hold out 25 for a separate vote, please.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Carlson to pull 25 for a separate vote. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second from Councilwoman Hurtak. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay. Councilwoman Hurtak.
I would like to pull items 47 and 48 for discussion.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak to pull items 47 and 48 for discussion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second from Councilman Vieira. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And I would like to do that after administrative update.
So you want to move 47 and 48 to after administrative update?
Yes.
Okay, is there a motion from Councilman Hurtak to move items 47 to 48 for discussion?
That's the same thing, but
Okay.
generally that's what we do when we pull them. I just want to
Okay.
make sure it's
Okay.
not a separate vote, it's a discussion.
Okay. So we don't need a motion for that. That's after admin. Okay. Okay, good. Is there anything else for the agenda that would like to be changed? Okay.
Let's go through the.
Yeah.
Let's do staff reports. There's too many pages here.
Too many items.
Okay, we do have an administrative update. During the administrative update, Chief Bennett has advised he would like to discuss 101.
Okay.
Okay. So for item number 94, we have a memo from Mr. Rogelio and Ms. Duncan.
Yes, we want to talk about it.
We do want to talk, okay. Okay. Number 95, we have a memo from Ms. Duncan, and its amount exceeds its mechanical service corp. Any discussion?
No.
Okay, that's for 95, no discussion. 96,
If I may, for that, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Vera.
Obviously, we'd request that the fire chief, for this one as well as for 97, be here in person. And obviously, I guess it notes you will be. I'd sent a memo over as well, asking for formal time for a local 754 on these items as well, if I may.
okay, so I believe that Chief Tripp will be here for both 96 and 97. We have a motion from Councilman Vera
Second.
to allow Nick Sacco to speak during this time. We have a second from Councilwoman Hurtak. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And I know this is obvious, but this will be in the afternoon, right?
Yes.
Okay, just
Okay,
making sure.
the ayes have it, so we'll expect a presentation from both Chief Tripp and the President of the 954, Mr. Sacco. Okay? And 98 is
Yes.
we definitely need a Mr. Rogelio for that. 99,
Yep.
Brandon Mobility, yes. Ms. Kapinski, Budget Analyst, provide a recommendation from the budget. Do we
Yes.
need- Yes, okay. Okay. And 101,
That's, Mr. Chairman, you're moving that up to
to the
administration.
administrative update. Okay. Okay, a motion to approve the agenda if there's no further changes. Chief Bennett?
Good morning, council. Good morning, public. John Bennett, Chief of Staff. Councilwoman Hurtak, did you need staff for that discussion or just a council discussion?
Both which numbers?
It would be nice to have staff here.
Okay.
It's going to be a combination. Actually, I mean, staff is welcome if they just want to be online. They don't need
Okay.
to be in person. It's just it's a broader discussion that I've been trying to have all week about trees and the new tree ordinance and the old
Sure.
tree ordinance. And so yes, I wanted to discuss it with my colleagues. But yeah, if they want to be
They'll be
online,
available for questions.
they do not have to be in person.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry, what did you?
This one goes to.
Okay, I motion to receive and file item 102, please.
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from
That was. Wait.
Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, so we received and filed 102. Okay, a motion to approve the agenda, please.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay. Okay, and a moment of privilege, because of the complexity with the filling vacancies, Councilman Vera, would it be your intent to discuss and elect CRA business today?
Absolutely, yeah, I see no problem.
So the clerk is here this morning. Would
Yeah.
you like to, would I make a motion to add after the pro tem election? To add
Yes,
a
sir.
CRA
Oh, yes,
election?
absolutely, yes, sir.
Okay, so we have a motion from Councilman Vieira to have the CRA chair and pro tem election after the city council pro tem election this morning. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good, ayes have it. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to move into election. I see that our clerk, Shirley Fox Knowles, is here. Madam Clerk, I give you the floor.
Okay. Good morning, Chair and Honorable Council. I'm here to conduct the election, Shirley Fox Knowles, City Clerk. I'm here to conduct the election for the Chair Pro Tem. Is there a nomination? Yes, sir.
I nominate Councilwoman Hurtak.
Okay. Her tag has been nominated. Is there another nomination? Yes.
I respectfully decline, thank you, but thank you.
Is there another nomination?
But thank you.
All in favor? Just raise your hand. All right. would you like to say a few words?
Thank you.
You got one more word.
Two if it's a few.
To y'all. There you go. Thanks to y'all.
Okay, we will move on to the CRA chair. Is there a nomination?
Yes, I nominate Councilwoman Lynn Hurtak.
Who?
I decline, but thank you.
Oh. Is there another nomination? Yes.
I nominate Councilman Maniscalco.
Is
I
there
thought
another
Can I ask
nomination?
a clarifying question? I thought it went automatically to you, no? You don't want it?
I mean, so, how shall I say this? I have a lot on my plate right now, including with being chairman of HART. So how about this, guys? I'll do it for, let's say this. How about this? We have an election for District 5 that's coming up. I always think it's proper in many cases to have the councilperson of District 5 be the chairperson of CRA. So how about, if I may, I'll agree to accept this with the understanding that once that person comes in, we reconsider. Is that a good compromise? Fair enough. Sure. Okay, then I hereby accept under those limited circumstances. If
Are you a lawyer by chance?
I am, and a mediator.
Congratulations.
Unanimous consent.
We'll now have the nomination for vice chair of the CRA. Is there a nomination?
Councilman Miranda is full.
I'll do that too. That's fine.
Okay, then I nominate Councilwoman Hurtak.
Double vice chair.
Double vice chair.
Okay. Would you like to say a few words?
Thank y'all again.
You did it, 3 words.
There we go. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right.
Yes, and
Councilman Bureau.
Councilwoman Hurtak. So y'all are gonna see us put these on. These are figures that represent Black history that the late Councilwoman Gwen Henderson would often have on. So I have on President Obama. We also have here, I believe it is, let's see, Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, among others, different folks. And so we're
Kamala Harris.
Yeah, Vice President Kamala Harris, Justice Jackson, among others. So we're wearing that today for the late Councilwoman Henderson, because she would always, y'all would notice, she would always wear these figures. And so I picked President Obama. So there you go. But yes, thank you. That's why we have these on. So.
And Councilmember Vieira got them for us, but I think you can buy them at Black English Bookstore, right?
Okay. I got
So
them.
if anybody wants to buy some and support Councilmember Henderson's family, you can buy them at Black English.
Okay, so we have Hurtak as chair pro tem, Vieira as CRA chair, and Hurtak again at CRA vice chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Very good. Okay, so we're going to accommodations and presentations. Item 1 has been removed from the agenda, so we're going to move on to item 2. The council would like to recognize Natalie Hernandez, and I believe this was initiated by Councilman Maniscalco.
Yes. All right.
Councilman Maniscalco.
Lisa, do you have the piece of paper? Oh, I'm sorry. Just a moment. I was going to do it from there, and
Oh, here,
And-
is it in this?
thank you.
No problem.
Pass that down.
Yeah, it's better over here so we're all on camera
Right,
together. and-
exactly.
Yeah.
Y'all look good on camera.
I wore a tie today
You did.
because Senator Arthenia Joyner said I need to start wearing a tie again, so I don't say no to the senator. So I'd like to introduce the Florida League of Mayors President, Mayor Nancy Miller of Daytona Beach Shores. Welcome to Tampa.
Thank you.
We hope you're enjoying your stay here. And Florida League of Mayors Executive Director Jeff Branch. Come on up, come on up.
Mr. Branch.
Chair.
How you doing, my friend?
All right, Mayor Miller will be presenting and introducing Natalie Hernandez, who placed third In the If I Were Elected Mayor essay competition, Natalie placed third out of, was it 1,900? 1,900 essays, and you're local, right? So we're very, very proud of you. And we're glad to be here. We'd like to honor you. And Mayor, if you'd like to go ahead and
Thank you
take it
so
away.
much. Thank you, Councilman Maniscalco, for having us here today. So good morning, Chair and fellow council members. We thank Mayor Castor for having us in this beautiful city, and a special shout out to our Volusia League of Cities board member, Luis Vieira. Thank you so much. So again, my name is Nancy Miller. I'm the mayor of Daytona Beach Shores, and I'm president of Florida League of Mayors. So on behalf of the 411 mayors who make up our organization, I am honored to be here to recognize an exceptional young leader from your community, Natalie Hernandez. Natalie is an 8th grade student at Henderson Hammock Charter School. So Natalie is the 3rd place winner of the statewide If I Were Elected Mayor essay contest. This is an initiative presented annually by the Florida League of Mayors and the Florida League of Cities. The purpose of the contest is to encourage Florida's youth to envision themselves as mayors and share their ideas for improving their city, their town, and their village. This year, we received more than 1,900 essays from students across the state. From that number, Natalie's essay stood out for its creativity, its thoughtfulness, and clear commitment to her community. I just wanted to pick out a couple of things that Natalie said. She wanted to improve quality of life. Education was a key aspect. She talked about economic growth and environmental sustainability. Her vision would be centering on a thriving, inclusive, sustainable community where all residents can prosper. So Natalie, we have a couple things for you. As the 3rd place winner, you will receive a $250 gift card and a joint resolution, and our executive director has that for you. That is from the Florida League of Cities and the Florida League of Mayors. You will also be highlighted in a statewide news release, featured in Quality Cities Online magazine, and you will be recognized on the Florida League of Mayors website and social media platforms. So Natalie, we are so proud of you. Your essay shows us that the future of Florida is very bright. Thank you again, Chair and council members, for your warm welcome and for your continued support of civic education and youth engagement. We are having a 3-day meeting here. Well, today we'll be in Tampa for our Florida League of Mayors Regional, and then tomorrow we're going on to Clearwater. So thank you so much for welcoming us. I was here last week with the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and you have a beautiful city here. So thank you again.
Thank you. Go. Natalie, would you like to say something?
Natalie,
I think you should speak.
This is unexpected, but thank you so much for having me. And whenever I wrote that essay, I was just thinking about things that as a student that I find like a struggle in my everyday life, and I can only imagine for like members of our council that they're like trying to control these issues and solve them. So I just spoke from what I thought like needed to be improved, not saying in Tampa, but overall in America. But thank you so much for recognizing me. This means so much.
It's incredible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Mr. Chair,
Councilman Carlson.
I wonder if you all have a copy of the speech or the essay that we could receive and file into the file here? Do you all have a copy of the essay?
Yes.
Could we, if somebody has a copy, I'd like to make a motion to receive and file it so it'd be in the official record.
We have a motion from Councilman Carlson, a second from Councilman Hurtek to receive and file a copy of the speech. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Okay. Councilman Maniscalco, you have the next item.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy the rest of your stay in Tampa. Councilman Maniscalco?
Thank you very much. In recognition, well, come on up, because we have quite a few. All right. In recognition of years of dedicated volunteer service as code enforcement special magistrates for the city of Tampa, and on behalf of the Tampa City Council, we are proud to recognize and commend a few special individuals. I'll start off with Mr. Paul Ernie, 30 years of service, appointed by Mayor Sandy Freeman. We have Laura Ware, who was unable to make it today, 21 years of service. We have Richard Rivas, 17 years of service, and Alex Dunmar for 14 years of service for their outstanding volunteer service as code enforcement special magistrates. All of them exemplified the highest standards of integrity, dedication, and professionalism in their role, making invaluable contributions to our community. Volunteering their time and expertise without compensation, they selflessly served the community, demonstrating an unwavering commitment to the principles of justice and fairness. Their years of service have had a long-lasting, positive impact on our community, and we are deeply grateful for their contributions. It is Tampa City Council's honor to present these commendations, which Lisa will bring up, to Paul, Richard, Alex, and Laura. Laura, who cannot be with us today on this 26th day of June 2025. Congratulations. Would you all like to say anything?
Go ahead, Alex. Well, I'll keep it short because my parking is only until 9:32, and I can just see that I get an award, then I go down and get a ticket, which I know y'all won't clear up for me. So, but it's been a pleasure to serve as hearing master, and want to thank my good friends for coming, and want to thank Wendy and my parents, and that's it.
I'll say something. Thank you. It's hard to realize looking at me, I'm the baby of the group by a number of years, it seems.
I like your haircut.
Thank you. Yes, I modeled after yours, sir. But no, it's been a great 14 years, and being able to serve the city and to help out the citizens. I would not have made it 14 years was it for Wendell in there. Wendy is a great city employee. She keeps all of us straight on numerous occasions, and when we screw up, she lets us know it pretty quickly that, hey, we got to fix this. So, Wendy, thank you. And I appreciate all the support over the years. Thank you.
I'm good. They've said everything that needs to be said.
Well, I believe Councilman Miranda would like to say something.
Thank you to Paul, Laura, Richard, and Alex. 81 years seems like a long time, but to you fellas and ladies that are not here, it was a part of your history of your life that you want to dedicate to people that had some minor problems with a system that was in place. And I can only say that there was a glitch, but it was no one's fault. It was our fault because we didn't have a backup in the system within the four individuals. There wasn't a fifth or a sixth that we could call in. But you four have done a yeoman job for a total of 81 years combined. And we, the council in the city of Tampa, is never going to forget that. And let me tell you why. Not only was your job done right, correctly, it was done with something that's forgotten. And that's the ability to understand that people have crisis. Most people that come before you were already in a crisis mode before they got here. And the way you four handled it was way above the call of duty, because you did it with glamour, but without friction. You did it, that glamour doesn't mean happiness. That glamour means that what you did was solve the problem without glamorizing your position and saying you got $500 fine. You did your job to get whatever was needed to get corrected first, and a fine second. Not a fine first and correct it later. Today's public, and no matter what part of this country you live in, because of wars, anticipation of wars, anticipation of inflation, anticipation of gunshots on the street, anticipation of people going out without a gun permit. There's so many things that are in the people's mind. Hurricanes coming through. Look at the whole United States. Not only this area where you live in, where we all live in, but look what happens in Kentucky, in North Carolina, in Virginia, in Ohio. The whole country is screwed up as far as the environment. These things are not coming up because we wanted them to happen. Coming up because we screwed it up ourselves for 100 years of abuse. So we're paying the price. And you fellas, all four of you, have done a yeoman's job. And I can only say that, I can't speak to my council members, and they can't speak to me, but I'd like to see the system reversed, go back to what we have with one or two extras or alternate individuals in your position, which we did not have. And that's what it's all about. Just like council, where we have an empty chair that's missing. Wonderful lady who did a yeoman's job in a short period of time, did a lot of good for the city, passed away, as you well know. And now there's a special election. We didn't have a special election in your case, but we're going to have, if it comes back, I hope this council brings it back to a civil understanding of eye-to-eye contact and solving the problem first, the money is second. We don't need money. We need the things fixed first. But thank you all for your courageous work, diligent work, showing up every day, and doing what you did for 81 years. Congratulations.
Shirley Fox Knowles, City Clerk, and Suleen. We also have recognitions for them.
So we cannot let you walk away without us, the city clerk's office, showing our appreciation. I don't think people realize how much time you all put in to being a special magistrate. There has been times where we did not have enough coverage, and when they'll come tell me, and I'm like, see who could, if Alice could do it, or Richard could do it, Paul could do it, and you all were always willing to take your time and to help us out. So we appreciate you.
Absolutely.
This one is for you, Richard. Thank you so much. Alex, thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Wow.
Yes. Not a weapon.
Oh, no. Be like Flavor Flav. Thank you very much. It was great to work with you.
Likewise.
Thank you, Councilman Miranda.
Thank you all so much for your service. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So we'll pause for 1 moment.
4 minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Maniscalco.
can I wish my wife a happy birthday?
We recognize Councilman Maniscalco for another ceremonial procedure.
I would just like to wish my wife a very, very happy birthday. I know
And what is
she's-
your wife's name?
Her name is Valerie.
I think you
and,
should sing it to her.
No, I'll sing it. I'll sing it
don't want
later.
him to rule.
So happy birthday to my wife.
Maybe we should have Councilman Vieira sing it.
Oh, my God.
Okay, we are now moving to public comment. We're going to start with our virtual speakers first. The first person is Stephanie Pointer. Is Ms. Pointer on the ceremonial procedure?
I would just like to wish my wife a very, very happy birthday.
And what is your wife's name? I recognize that voice. Stephanie Pointer, are you online? This is your moment.
Maybe we should have Councilman Vieira sing.
Oh, my God.
Stephanie Pointer, would you please mute your television or whatever you're watching this on, and would you please take your opportunity to speak to this esteemed city council?
My wife a very, very
Okay, we're going to put her on mute, and we're going to move on to Michael Randolph. Michael Randolph.
Good morning. My name is Michael Randolph. So, I want to talk about 3 things quickly today. I want to offer my support and expertise to help the Sulphur Springs community launch a community-driven initiative from the bottom up to focus on transforming their neighborhoods from within. As I explained to you in conversation with the local leaders there, if you don't control the process will control you. Guided by the West Tampa CDC model, I'm committed to collaborating with the residents and shareholders to co-create a comprehensive holistic framework that address the economic, social, and physical infrastructure needed to revitalize the community. This includes advancing affordable housing, expanding workforce and business development, and strengthening the social fabric of the community intentionally. In addition to that, working with them to get funding as well as provide them with assistance in putting together their communities to streets are clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Randolph.
Thank you, Mr. Randolph.
Stephanie Pointer,
Good morning. Can you hear me?
we can hear you now. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Stephanie Pointer. I'd like to point out number 66 is another thinly veiled attempt of taking away power from city council and giving it to staff, which I don't believe is healthy for our city. I believe city council should be making decisions about the land that we own being bought and sold, whether you could call it a right of way or an easement. I think that decision belongs to city council. Number 81, the setting the public hearing for stormwater. You know, I still have some issues with how our stormwater funds are being spent. But number 99, it's nice to see that stormwater department has finally found SOG and done a considerable amount of work down there. I hope they get around to clearing out Inner Bay at Manhattan, because we had about 3 feet of water there after Milton. I would like to point out that number 94, Ashley Drive, needs to come completely out of the downtown CRA. It should not be paid for by general funds. The whole point of a CRA is to improve the community, to cure slum and blight, to improve property values, and Ashley Drive project does all of that. So none of it, not one penny of it, should come out of the general fund. Let's see. Oh, and you know what? If an employee is doing something that's considered to be inappropriate by anyone, the judgment on whether that should be deemed inappropriate or not should be done by the Ethics Commission. We have an Ethics Committee. Why hasn't some of the most recent things been sent to the Ethics Committee for review and let them make the decisions? There's a bunch of really smart people on that committee, and they should be utilized more accurately. And I'd like to thank, last but not least, Chairman Clendenin for making sure that public comment online went first. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, Ms. Pointer. Okay, that concludes our online public comment. Mr. Shelby, would you like to review the council rules for public comment, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Council members of the public, Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. Very briefly, the rules regarding decorum for today's meeting. Members of the public are allowed a reasonable opportunity at the beginning of today's council meeting to address any item on the agenda before City Council takes official action on an item. A 3-minute time limit applies to all speakers providing public comment. Speakers and members of the public are also reminded to please refrain from disruptive behavior, including making vulgar or threatening remarks or making or causing disruptive noises or sounds or displaying signs or graphics. Speakers are also reminded to refrain from launching personal attacks against any city official, staff member, or members of the public. The chair will rule out of order any person who speaks without being recognized or attempts to address the city council from outside the speaker area at the podium, and persons failing to comply with council rules may also be ruled out of order and, at the discretion of the chair, may be removed from the chambers for the remainder of today's meeting. Now, if you're here to speak on items set for a public hearing, it says so on the agenda. It's called a public hearing, and you will have that opportunity when the item is later called up in the agenda. No public comment will be taken during item labeled as staff reports. The time to speak about those items and items on the consent agenda is now during general public comment. Now, you have had the opportunity to fill out speaker waiver cards, speaker cards, and place them in the speaker box outside the chambers. And the chair will call upon you to please speak by name, and I hope you have printed legibly, because cards that cannot be read, unfortunately, cannot be called. And finally, city council members should refrain from engaging a speaker under public comment. And the public should be aware that the city council does not take questions or have a dialogue during general public comment. This is your opportunity to express your position to city council. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shelby. Just a reminder for the public comment, when you're at the podium, please face council, because there's a microphone there and it's directional. So don't turn around and speak to the chamber. Speak to us so we can hear what you're saying. The first person on public comment is Fred Hearns. The next person is going to be Norma Robinson. Good
morning, Council. Fred Hearns, 3422 Machado Street, in the middle of historic Belmont Heights in District 5. I want to thank you for all the love that you've given in memory of Councilwoman Gwendolyn Henderson. My last time speaking with her was 2 weeks before she passed, and we were at Perry Harvey Park. We had a ribbon cutting ceremony. I don't know if any of you were aware of that, for a temporary shelter that the Tampa Bay Buccaneer Foundation placed there, one of those large tents. It's been there for a couple of months now. And she made it clear this is only temporary until we can get an amphitheater here at Perry Harvey Park. That conversation started over 18 years ago. My last year as a City of Tampa employee, Mayor Pam Iorio appointed me to chair a committee, and we had 10 people on that committee, and most of them were descendants of the former property owners and business operators on Central Avenue when it was the Harlem of the South, when it was really popping. And everyone who lived in Tampa at that time who was black spent some time on Central Avenue. Gwen Henderson understood the importance of black business ownership, and that's what she wanted to bring back to the city. And we always talked about, once we had an amphitheater and we had special events at the park, and she could just envision dozens of vendors, as we've had from time to time, but not on a regular basis there. And some of these people could perhaps advance to having ownership of storefronts, actual buildings where they could operate businesses as a result of success there at Perry Harvey Park. I'm here today, and I've reached out to most council members this week asking you to support, number one, funding an amphitheater finally at Perry Harvey Park, and number two, naming it for Gwendolyn Henderson. I'm asking you to seriously consider doing that and carrying out a commitment that was made. It was verbal, it wasn't in writing, to have that amphitheater open back 18 years ago when the park was redeveloped with all of the black history that we have there. Just yesterday, I took a family through Perry Harvey Park, and they were having a family reunion. They were planning the family reunion, and they wanted to learn about the history of the city so they could share that with their family members. It's an opportunity that's absolutely free for people to walk through that park and learn about black history in this city. And remember, black history is Tampa history. Thank you so much.
Norma Robinson. Okay, I'm so sorry. I know it's respectful in normal circumstances, but in council, we don't respond from the audience. No clicking, no clapping, no noise, no all, because it's a professional government meeting, okay? Thank you so much. Norma Robinson.
Good morning, Councilman.
Good morning.
I'm here representing Sulphur Springs. With Councilman Henderson, we had hope for our community. We've been overlooked, we feel, since in the past, and Henderson gave us hope that we would be revitalized. The residents and stakeholders of Sulphur Springs respectfully submit the appeal urging the city and county leaders to prioritize the development of the area as a recreational and cultural space rather than those for residential purposes. Sulphur Springs is going through a revitalization and all types of proposals are being prepared. I'm sorry, I felt a little this morning. So Sulphur Springs is a community with a deeply rooted and diverse history dating back to 1817. Despite the rich legacy and unique cultural identity, Sulphur Springs has long been passed over for improvements and investments that would uplift the quality of life for our residents. Our community is ready to positive change that honors the past, meets present needs, and builds future and includes all of us. We envision a cohesive, thoughtfully developed recreational corridor. Come in. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
A recreation
Can
corridor.
you state your name before you start speaking,
Oh,
please?
sorry. Hope
That's okay.
Carissa, a resident of Sulphur Springs.
Okay, Hope, thank you.
A recreation corridor that reflects the strength and potential of Sulphur Springs that would include enhancing and connecting the following assets: the Sulphur Springs Water Tower, a historic symbol of the neighborhood, Riverfront Park and gazebo, essential green space for family and community gatherings, the Sulphur Springs Pool area, revitalized for health, fun, and safe recreation, a walkable, accessible pathway that links the future green artery, promoting mobility, wellness, environmental consciousness, the Springs Theater, which holds potentials to be restored as a performing arts venue for the community gathering space, Man Wagon Park, home of Sulphur Springs Museum and Community Stepping Stone, Center of Learning, Heritage, and Youth Engagement. The Art Building, a critical hub that includes a public library, health services, and a community auditorium, all vital resources for education, well-being, and creative expression.
Thank you, Hope. Your part of public comment is over, but you're the next speaker. So if you'd like to continue that or start with yours, you're welcome to do that. So you have 3 minutes starting now.
Okay, we'll continue it then. Thank you. Look how that worked out. The feature, located in the beautiful Hillsborough River Together, offers a rare and invaluable opportunity to build a dynamic recreation and cultural district that not only serves Sulphur Springs, but enhances the border of the Tampa community. It would provide a safe, enriching, and inclusive environment where residents can gather, learn, and heal and celebrate. We firmly believe that additional residential development in the area would undermine this vision and further limit access to public spaces that promote community health, creativity, and cohesion. Instead, we ask you for your partnership in reclaiming and revitalizing Sulphur Springs, not as an afterthought, but as a centerpiece of Tampa's cultural and recreation future. We thank you for your consideration and invite you to work with us in revitalizing the community driven by this vision. Respectfully, Ms. Norma, and on behalf of the Sulphur Springs community, and Hope Carissa myself. Thank you.
You can continue if you would like to say
Still have
add
some more
anything
time.
on your
Okay.
own thoughts.
Outside of this, again, I'm a resident of Sulphur Springs and sit on the association, and we do see what the city has been doing to invest in the Sulphur Springs. One thing that I petition, that we have initiatives that are holding current landlords accountable for their areas. Even though we're making the investments, it's not gonna really pay off if the landlords are there don't really care. They don't care how the property looks. You can't look them up because they're all under LLCs. So, we all know that 70% of that area is rentals. So it's kind of, you're helping on one side, but we're not really correcting some of the root cause problems. So I petition the council to look into initiatives where we can hold these landlords accountable for their properties.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Next speaker is Tim Vadnais. Tim? And after Tim will be Steve Michelini.
Am I able to put up?
It'll activate in a moment.
Okay. Good morning. I'm with the Sulphur Springs neighborhood also.
State your name first, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Tim Vadnais. And this bridge is a walk bridge in Sulphur Springs, behind the Sulphur Springs pool. It's kind of a center of our neighborhood. We have our Christmas party, usually there every year. It was condemned, I'm guessing 6 to 7 years ago. And we thought it was something temporary, so we didn't really look into it. But I'm going to show you what it looks like right now. So it's been like that. It's a hazard. It's not nice. This is going to be part of the green artery, the connection between Nebraska and the water tower. So we've been contacting the Parks Department every year, and they say it's not even on the radar. So I'm just asking for, guys to be aware of it if it comes up on a budget, or if you can help us figure out what to do with it. And that's basically all I have for you guys.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Steve Michelini, please. And the next speaker is going to be Eileen Henderson.
Good morning, Council. Steve Michelini. You have on your agenda item 47 and 48, which is trying to move money from the Tree Trust Fund. We had a long meeting this past week on Monday, including Carol Ann Bennett, and it involved the money that's taken from builders and homeowners to replace trees. There's $5 million in that account that has not been spent. And you had, a couple weeks ago, a request to change the ordinance that allowed that, to take away some of the safety measures that were in that ordinance. And now, today, you have a request to move Tree Trust Fund money for infrastructure improvements. Each of those projects should be standing alone and paying their own way. The Tree Trust Fund is money collected with the purpose of replanting trees. It's not there to be used as a piggy bank to raid for other projects. It just isn't. If there's a project that this, someone, private contractor is bidding on, include the tree replacement in that project. Don't come over and try to take money away from the Tree Trust Fund. So I would strongly suggest that with $5 million sitting in an account that hasn't been used, first, develop the criteria that gets those trees planted and use that money, and don't have all of these different agreements that you have to sign, and if the tree dies and the homeowner has to pay for it, and you can't plant it on, you can now plant it on private property, but the criteria needs to be revised, and that's why the money hasn't been used. But when you try to take that money that's sitting there, that's been put in there in good faith, and the city is sitting as a trustee for that money, you can't take that money and use it for some other and not other purpose. It just isn't right. You have credits on this. I mean, some of the things that they're putting in there is paving and mobility, and you're transferring the responsibility from parks and recreation to mobility. This simply was not ever the intent of the Tree Trust Fund. And when you take that money from builders and you take it from homeowners because they removed a tree, it simply flies in the face of the intent of that ordinance. Please do not allow that to happen. And I think that, Carol Ann Bennett is registered to speak as well. And we are united in this request with the homeowners and the builders. Don't allow that to happen. So I thank you for your time.
Just 1 second.
No,
Do you know, is that on the,
Charlie.
what numbers are on the agenda?
We're already pulling it.
Oh, okay, that's not 94.
47 and 48.
73? That was 42. Thank you.
Eileen Henderson.
Good morning, Council.
Yes.
Eileen Henderson. I am here today as the Cemetery Society. First, I want to say you have someone in the audience, maybe a few people, Michelle Patty. I'm supporting what she's going to say today. The concerns are we have a budget coming up and we don't have representation for District 5. That's a big concern for a lot of us here in District 5. I know we're having an election, but that's happening after the fact. So I just want to make sure that people are cognizant of that and District 5 is taken care of. There are 2 items I want to talk about today on the agenda. Item number 29, it's the mowing contract. Just in reviewing it and a little bit, that I know about contract management, one of the things I came across was the background checks. There are 3 criteria for the background checks, and they don't include any and all crimes against children. I know that there are, I think, 35 parks that they will have to mow. I have a Parks and Rec background, and so I know that there are parks on there that have programming where there are children. And I don't know if you read the news, but there were 60 children just recovered, missing children. So for me, taking care of children is important. I think that's an important element to have on this mowing contract if there's any interaction whatsoever with children at a park. The other thing is making sure on the mowing contract, cemeteries are included. They are not specifically included, and that would include headstones and grave markers or monuments. I visit them all the time, you know this, and there's tons of nicks their headstones that have been knocked over. That is from mowing, people that are out there mowing that property, and they really should be responsible. It's private property, and the people that put that headstone there for their family should have some type of restitution from these folks when they damage them. And it's very important to me, and I'm sure it's important to the family. The other thing is item 102. I know it's not up for discussion, and you did receive a memo from the departments that had to answer to you. In that memo, they do recommend that you put something in place for properties like we talked about, the Showman's Rest that's back up for sale. They asked that you put something in place, or recommended that you put something in place, so that when we have situations like this, we can go in and we can do a proper GPR. They mentioned a GPR in that memo. I just want to share with you, back in 2021, we had 2 professional experts say that that was not the right GPR. So it's important when you put this together, you get with the experts and the professionals so you know the type of GPR that needs to be done. I did get with FPAN recently, Rachel Kangas. I know she sent you an email. So she is supporting also that you all look into that. Real brief, that's all I'm going to say about that. I'll send an email to give you more details. I do want to end on a positive note. I went by Oak Lawn Cemetery the other day after Juneteenth. Happy to report, looked cleaned up. There were still some things we need to work on. I want to give a huge shout out to Major Richardson with the police department. I know that this is his area now, and I think it's important that we give positive feedback to council when good things are happening. That's all I've got. Thank you.
So much, Eileen. Valerie Bullock, followed by Carol Ann Bennett. Good morning, Valerie.
Good morning, Valerie Bullock. I'm here to talk about item number 36, about the summer youth program. And I believe that the whole summer youth program need to be revamped so that the children can get jobs. And I know we have to spend some money on administrative costs, but the main purpose of the summer youth program was to get the kids training and jobs and to get them off the street. And this summer here, it didn't happen like it was supposed to have happened. And I don't know if you all know the importance of the summer youth program. I participated in the summer youth program, and what it does to poor people and people who are living in blight under the poverty level, it takes you out of that neighborhood and it exposes you to something positive, and it also gives you hope that maybe one day I can get a job like this. And right now, what's going on with the whole summer youth program is the people that is supposed to be helping, they are not getting the help that they need. And it makes a difference in the community and in the family house. When we were working the summer youth program, we gave our mother half our check and the other half was spent on us. But when all you do is wake up and you see no way out economically, it's very, it's depressing, and it affects the way your grades are in school. It affects your self-esteem, because the kids are very cruel and peer pressure is real. If my mother can't buy me the $200 pair of Jordan, then I got to do something and get the $200 pair of Jordan. Whether it leads to criminal activity for the boys or sexual activity for the girls, it's real, and this is what is happening. We need to look at the whole summer youth program and make sure that the kids are the ones who's profiting off of the program, and that the program is full. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Valerie. Carol Ann Bennett, followed by Walter Hill.
Hi, my name is Carol Ann Bennett. I'm a founding member of TTAG. In 2017, the Builders Association was fed up with the use of the Tree Trust Fund. They didn't trust that it was being spent properly. There was no accounting for it. They hired Gina Grimes. That resulted in a 2-year cooperation with all the stakeholders about rewriting the tree code. And one of the cornerstones of that was accounting and proper use, guardrails on the Tree Trust Fund. The new Tree Trust Fund, not one penny has been spent yet, but it's about to be. And yet now they've come to us saying, oh, we want to rewrite that. They haven't even used this new code, but they want to rewrite it. And we had a meeting, as Mr. Michelini mentioned, on Monday, a very long meeting, and we talked about how no money's been spent, no money's been spent, no money's been spent. Then I find out Tuesday they want $334,000 out of the Tree Trust Fund to cover the pipes program. So there were 4 resolutions covering the money for the Pikes program, and every one of them is fully funded out of the capital improvements, water bonds, stormwater bonds. Here's all the money that was approved. Here's the financing. It was fully financed. The entire project was fully financed using the money. So now they say, oh, we need to pay for the trees and for Virginia Park and Parkland Estates, and McFarland Park. Well, I live in Virginia Park, so I had they planted these trees over a year ago, and now they're saying they need the money for them. And that it has to come from the Tree Trust Fund. And look at all these bottle brushes that they planted. That's what the Tree Trust Fund is supposed to cover. This is the bottle brush tree that they planted that they now need money from the Tree Trust Fund. They say, also the request is a little confusing. One thing says 52,000 from South Tampa and 282 from Central Tampa. The other one says the reverse. I don't know which is correct, but even at 52,000 from South Tampa and 49 trees, that's over $1,000 a tree for a bottle brush. I told my husband, he wants me to give you his business card. He's like, I'll do it for $500 per tree. I mean, $1,000 a tree, that's if it's 52,000. But what they're saying is from South Tampa, they want 282 for 49 trees. We have to guard this money. When the lottery was being voted on, they said it's all going to go to education. The people who were against it said what they're going to do is raid the current education budget and backfill it with lottery money, so vote no. And I voted no. And I was right, because that's exactly what they did. They raided the education budget, they backfilled it with lottery money, they didn't increase the funding at all, and I'm afraid that's what I see going on here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Walter Hill, and the next speaker will be the mayor of West Tampa, Joe Robinson.
Good morning, council, staff, and residents. My name is Walter Hill. I'm the Vice President of Tampa Firefighters. Since 2023, this council and IFF Local 754 have called loudly and consistently for a comprehensive master plan of Tampa Fire Rescue. Back in March of 2021, this council formally requested one by motion from council members Vieira and Citro. Yet here we are, June 26, 2025, and we still don't have one. What we've seen presented over the last few years hasn't been a forward-looking strategy. It's been a recap, a summary of what's already been completed or underway. That's not a master plan. That's a progress report. We, as well as City Council, have offered to help develop a real plan, one that looks ahead, identifies risks, and builds capacity for the city we're becoming. But to date, those offers remain unanswered. We've all heard about the computer-aided dispatch system and how it's a work in progress, and it may be delaying the master plan. But our CAD system's been out of service for nearly a decade. Emergencies don't wait for software updates or implementation, and neither should we. Development is rising faster than our ability to respond. From Midtown to Water Street, West Shore to Gasworks, entire new communities are coming online or set to come online with no fire stations planned for these areas and no units additionally allocated for them. These are vertical cities within our city, and with each one, the burden on Tampa Fire grows heavier. The skyline is expanding, and so are the calls for help. And when those calls come in, firefighters don't ask for analytics. They ask, how fast can we get there? Some will say there's a station nearby, but proximity doesn't mean availability. When that engine's already out, response times matters and outcomes suffer. Seconds matter and lives hang in the balance. Looking at Station 24, planning began in 2022 after requests for additional stations began in 2020. It's been on your agenda over 6 times, and here it is again today for item number 97. And yet we still haven't broken ground, and that timeline continues to expand. The community is watching, and so are the men and women who serve it. The residents and firefighters of Tampa deserve more than status reports. They deserve readiness. They deserve response. And we, your firefighters, deserve the tools, the planning, and the investment to serve this city with excellence. We don't run from challenges, we run towards them. But we can't do it alone. We're not asking for perfection, we're asking for progress. Let this be the council and admin that acted, not the one that waited. Let this be the years to stop reflecting and start building. Let's deliver on the promises made in 2021, reaffirmed in 2023, and are still unfulfilled today. Let's move from updates to actions. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Robinson. Next speaker will be Allison Date.
Good morning, Council. Joe Robinson, 2338 Palmetto Street, the old Scaglione House in West Tampa. First of all, item 101, Council to partner with John Bennett, Chief of Staff, to engage an employment attorney to conduct analysis of city process regarding employment grievances. That's a serious issue, needs to be resolved. That's about 40% of the dysfunctionality going on down in City Hall. Let's get the grievances straight. Let's listen to why people left. Let's dig into that. Because if you have relationships, you can't communicate, and you have all this craziness going on with all these different areas, fire, legal, mobility. Bennett, thank you, man, for stepping up to the plate and putting that on there. Now, I'm here because there's a hole in the wall. There's a hole in the wall, and I need district representatives from 1, 2, and 3. Please monitor and support an equitable budget for District 5 with me. We don't have anybody for District 5 budget. I'm asking the at-large members who represent the whole city to make sure that the District 5, which I've been a resident for decades and decades, and a taxpayer for decades and decades, property owner, businessman, running a business in District 5 for over 35 years, including renting property since I was 12 years old. We need to make sure we have a budget that don't get usurped by other areas of the city. We're a slum in Black. We have over all of the CRAs, except for one. You know, we're trying to come back on East and West Side. East and West Side. And the East Side needs some help. The West Side, we sort of rolling, but the East Side really needs some help. And I'm here to say that without a representative, without a voice, without somebody to speak up, without somebody to say something, I only can speak to those that are there that represent the whole city of Tampa, 1, 2, and 3. I beg you, I ask with you, I plead with you to please make sure that we get an equitable budget for District 5. And I think you guys know what it is. Now, the other people in the single members, I want your help too, because it takes 4 votes to get anything done up there. So the 1, 2, 3 are going to need one more to do anything. I appreciate what you're doing. I know you got a tough task. The budget ain't really been presented by the mayor yet, but it's coming. So I'm asking you up front to please support it. So let me get back to work, because I got a lot to do now that we got a hole in the wall.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Allison.
Good morning, I'm Allison Date, and I'm here to talk about 47 and 48 and the use of the tree trust fund money. We're concerned that the tree canopy is not being replanted with adequate diversity of size and species. Not enough of these guys. All the little ornamental non-natives are being planted with the tree trust fund money so far, the majority. We just found that on the inadequate amount of information that we've gotten. All we get is the budget. There's supposed to be a report, so there's a lack of monitoring to verify the criteria that are in the tree plan. It's not being done. In fact, I think maybe it's not even looked at. So the other thing that I need to say is that getting this information about the 47 and 48 stuck into another asking for money is not appropriate. It's like it's deceptive in a way. These resolutions need to clarify and say on the agenda that it is the tree fund money that's being used clearly, separately. We met on Monday with people from the city, but no one told us about the $334,000 that were going to be asked for from the tree trust fund. We discovered it at the last minute by looking at the agenda. So that's of a concern to us. And because in the original money they've been using, they were unaccountable. They could just take the money, use it for whatever they wanted to. But now, as they've used up all that money, which that's another question, what has that money been used for? We don't know because there's no reporting on it. And this money, they now want to put all the 5 districts into one fund. And will they use it the same way, which we don't even know how they used it? It's of concern because, I don't know, just by looking And by looking at the little bit of data, the tree canopy is disappearing. And we can't replace, especially the type 1. They need to be put in place, or space needs to be made for them, because there'll be no place for them. And it takes 50 years to get one of these guys, and they're gone. And so they're not being replanted. And so I'm hoping that those changes can be made. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ginger Case, followed by Marty Green.
Good morning, my name is Ginger Case. I'm here to speak about the Casa Belmar Apartments. I first off hated to see the church go. That's where my parents were married. But I watched them being built from the ground up and was told that there would be retail space in the first floor. There isn't any. And I personally have 2 people that have gone to inquire about, getting in, finding a home. One is in need of a home yesterday. And they're getting pushback. If you can find somebody in there, it's rare, and online, they're not being able to get any information. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Marty Green, and next will be Pam Canella.
I would like to just get this to the city council. My name is Marty Green. I'm with the mobility department. As of now, I really understand that with the city of Tampa, it is racism still going on in the mobility department. As a supervisor could get away with calling employees monkeys. First thing I find with this paperwork is that the employee that called employees monkeys, they say he was a regular employee. No, he was on the probation period. He's supposed to be terminated right there. It shouldn't have never been a question, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Right here during the investigation, 3 people felt offended, and nothing was done about it. Right now, the mobility department is being ran like Candyland off the Django. And I speak of this, one that's covered up, Michael Brown. Now, Brian Rogers, he is the manager of this department. He is an appointed official. Therefore, it goes by the city council and the mayor, the only ones can get him out of there. In the lenses of my eyes, I see him as a racist, because you let this go on up under your watch. And if this keep going on, the mobility department is going to go all the way down. And the same thing that's going on, the clicks. The clicks is real in the city of Tampa. So I did not hear anything else from the auditor. The city of Tampa auditor, they called me, I met with her. Now they're telling me that they can't do nothing about it, that they sent the outside auditor. That was from Ray Rodriguez, HR. Never heard anything from the outside auditor. So saying that to say this, that right now, it is a lot going on in the mobility department that need to be taken care of. Brandon, that was the intern for Vic. He haven't came down here, introduced himself. He hasn't said nothing to us. So now a lot of guys in the department is feeling the same way that I'm feeling right now, frustrated, depressed, and because he's doing the same thing Vic did. He never came down there to address us. And we've been asking for a meeting with Vic before he left. We asked for a meeting with Brian Rogers. All those guys, they refused to have a meeting with us. They go by this one guy, Michael Brown, and say, I got this, let me handle this. No, you're not handling nothing. You're trying to handle us like slaves. And that's what's going on in the mobility department. We had, with the city funding, they say order us trucks. We don't have any trucks. We have to go to the department, another company, and get trucks and rent trucks. That's $7,200 a month renting trucks that we have the money in the budget. No, they do what they want to do with the money. And also with the FEMA situation, you pay us our regular pay, but you're getting paid double time from FEMA. That also need to be investigated. That need to come from up top from Tallahassee. They need to be investigated. Right now, as I speak right now, I'll be back in 2 more weeks with something from Stormwater. Since Stormwater have something to say, I'll be back with them too.
Thank you. Pam Canella, please. Followed by Laureen Diaz.
I have an assistant.
State your name, please.
Not yet.
State your name.
Okay. My name is Pam Canella. I am concerned with the lack of ethics displayed by some of the employees, staff, and elected officials that make life-changing decisions for the residents and taxpayers of the city of Tampa. Professional misconduct, abuse of power, and misappropriation of funds cannot be tolerated. The lack of transparency in the mobility department has led to flooding, infrastructure problems, and loss of property. Now I have a question about the integrity of the zoning department. The zoning department approved the application proposal for a mixed-use storefront residential housing based on the criteria that under its CG zoning on this property, the applicant was entitled, but no retail was built at completion of this building. No storefront on site plan. Yet I was assured before the groundbreaking that the applicant was entitled under the CG zoning, since the use of a storefront was proposed. I was told no public notice was needed, no city council approval for waivers. And I have a letter, an email, from Kate Wells. As Eric explained, the development is permitted by right, since the use storefront commercial, which includes a retail use and 100 multi-family units, is permitted within the underlying zone districts. Given the fact that this development is allowed by right and a building permit is issued, it was allowed. The approval of accelerated permits and bond money was given to this housing project based on the pretense that this applicant was entitled under the CG zoning an application proposal for a mixed-use storefront residential housing. Keyword is storefront. Never happened. There is no storefront. But this property was not entitled by right of CG zoning, as was told to me by Kate Wells and Eric Cotton, because without it, there is no retail store. That zoning doesn't you know what I'm saying. So there we are, as well as I was assured to me by Kate Wells and Eric Cotton that it was all put through and they were entitled with a storefront that they never did put through. Thank you.
Thank you. Lorleen Diaz, followed by James Shirk.
Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Lurleen Diaz. I'm the Executive Director of Created Women. Our goal at Created is to be part of the solution. Our main campus is at 3102 North Nebraska Avenue, so you know that we're in the heart of it. At Created, we are a residential recovery program for survivors of human trafficking. We all know that human trafficking is a problem in our community. We were just reminded of that this week in the news. And for 18 years, Created has been part of the solution for human trafficking. In the last 3 years, we have gone from 1 residential facility to 4 spread across the Tampa Bay area. So we really want to serve the women who have been impacted by human trafficking. We have 4 houses and 4 residential programs, which allows us to adapt case plan for each individual woman that suits their individual needs. We have a program that is the assessment house where we bring women in and we can assess what their needs are and we can go from there to help develop a plan that will best suit them for long-term care. After that, we have 2 program houses where women can stay up to 2 years. During that time, they are getting their life back. They receive therapy for their trauma. They also receive drug treatment, and they receive life skills and all the other skills that they need to develop to overcome the barriers that led them to trafficking, but that's also preventing them from living a productive life. So our goal is to take them from being somebody who is trafficked, that in the end they live completely independent lives, full-time jobs, permanent housing. Our program has an 89% success rate. We just now added a new house to our program That house is for women who have completed our program. They still need additional support, or they prefer to live in community so that they can continue in their care and their development, or at this time, permanent housing solutions are not available to them, but they don't need to be in the program any longer. So this is another option for them. So if any of you would like to know more about Created, I have some annual reports with me. I have my card, and I would love to talk to you offline about that. Thank you so much for what you do. We're really grateful.
Thank you for coming this morning. James Shirk, followed by Ryan Dancer. James left. Okay, Ryan? Ryan Dancer, going once, going twice. Frank Williams, Pastor. And the next speaker after Mr. Williams will be Chris Partridge.
My name is Pastor Williams, located 1112 East Scott Street. And I'm here to complain about our taxes. You know, I went to pay my homeowners and taxes yesterday, and it was so high, I asked the lady, can I pay on the installment plan? She said, no, you can need $350 to pay right now. Otherwise, your taxes gonna go up. I said, why is that? And she said, well, that's the plan the government made for you. But you know what? We could pay all the taxes we want. But you got to understand, they should put a budget on paying taxes on your home. Because that's a way for them to take your homes away from you. And you know that's ridiculous. But what can we do about it? And you know, I have to talk about the east side of Tampa. East side of Tampa is like a garbage pit for the west side of Tampa. And that's sad. We don't care about the east side. I don't think the mayor has no budget for the east side. Because y'all dig them trench holes in Belmont Heights and Jackson Heights. Nobody want to do nothing about it. I told y'all to fill them in, fill one piece of land in, and let me build my church over there. Because they done took my church over there on Scott Street and gave it to the white folks. But you know what? We're going to still strive and survive. Why? Because we're human beings that only stand up for righteousness. We don't come up here preaching to evil to nobody. We stand up for righteousness. And we deserve that right, don't we? Yeah, y'all ain't going to say nothing, but I know we deserve the rights of people because that's all we are, nothing but people. And we have to understand, y'all got to give in and talk and do what's right for everybody. Not just do what's right for white folks only. Do what's right. Now, we got this thing called Juneteenth. What in the hell is Juneteenth? Let me tell you something. I called to go to St. Petersburg and to speak on Juneteenth. And I said, what is that? But I went there, and I spoke the best as I can. And it's something about the freedom of people. Black folk were never free. They didn't have nowhere to go. Where would they go? Go out inside? Boy, my time is up.
Thank you, Pastor. Have a nice day. Chris Partridge, please. And the next speaker will be Bishop Michelle B. Patty.
Yeah, y'all need to give us more time on this thing so we can explain ourselves.
Good morning.
Oh, goodness. Good morning.
Start with your name, please.
Yeah, my name is Chris Partridge, and I live in College Hill. And I'm speaking today because I'm outraged that the city of Tampa is hosting Turning Point USA Student Action Summit at our publicly owned convention center. And this is one of three such events that Turning Point is holding here in July. These are not just conferences. These are extremist rallies disguised as educational summits. Turning Point USA has a documented history of disinformation, attacks on LGBTQ youth, glorification of authoritarian leaders, and harassment of educators and public officials. Their presence doesn't just reflect poorly on Tampa. It creates a climate of fear, hostility, and division in our schools, our neighborhoods, and our city. When we allow public venues to be used for events like this, it's not neutral, it's an endorsement, one that puts Tampa's values, safety, and reputation at risk. I'm here today to ask you to publicly condemn these Turning Point summits, review the convention center's booking process to ensure that it reflects our community standards and safeguards public resources, and I'm asking you to stand with the people of Tampa, protect our community and the values we share. Tampa should be a place where people feel safe, welcome, and proud, not a testing ground for authoritarian politics wrapped in youth education conferences. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle B. Patty, followed by Montesno.
Good morning, Council. Bishop Michelle B. Patty. I'd like to first thank Council for wearing your pins this morning in recognition of Councilwoman Gwendolyn Gwen Henderson representing District 5. It's still kind of hard for me to process that she's gone, but I'm here because I received many calls from frightened residents that live in District 5 concerning the budget, that there's probably not going to be anyone to represent them because with how many people that's in the race, it's probably going to be a runoff. So they want to let the council know that they would appreciate you making sure that there's money to continue Fair Oaks, that Fair Oaks stay on track, that there's money for tree trimming, because we are in the hurricane season, and we know that we're looking at many hurricanes, and they want to make sure the trees are trimmed. The roofs, that there's money for fixing their homes, their roofs and all. We also know that CRA, they have a boundary, and the people who live just across the street, many of these are seniors who's on fixed income, and they don't have a way of fixing their home. And the CRAs cannot fix the home because they're not in the boundaries. So they're asking that you all, when we look at that budget, that you be mindful that they're in need of monies for fixing their homes and things. So as we go forward, code enforcement, a lot of these homes, if they're not fixed, then code enforcement is going to be finding these people who cannot pay these codes, thereby taking their homes and creating more gentrification. So we're asking the council that is sitting here that you be very, very mindful that District 5 was on track with the Councilwoman Gwendolyn Henderson, and to honor her legacy as you wear those pins, that you keep that the council, that district in mind. Also, we know that district is also a food desert. And one of the things she had talked about was trying to see about bringing grocery stores, nice grocery stores to that area. So we're going to ask that you all continue that legacy of helping people. She didn't see us as this color of fighting against South, East, or West. She's seen the Tampa as a whole. She loved the city. She loved the community. She loved the people. So we're asking that you continue that same, even though there's no one sitting in that seat, her spirit is sitting there. So as you make that, look at the budget, make sure that there's monies to see about the people in District 5. They need to have monies, they need to be taken care of, not overlooked, because we are here watching the council as you look at that budget. So with that being said, we want to say thank you in advance, because I know many of you will do the right thing.
Thank you. Montesna, followed by Robin Lockett.
Uhuru, Montesna. I want to say the first time I had sex with my mother, I thought it was normal.
No.
And the 100th time I had sex with my mother.
You're out of order.
In what way?
This last one. That is a vulgar comment, and we're not
What?
going to
Hold on.
Okay, no. This is not a discussion. I've ruled that you're out of order. That's a vulgar discussion, and we're not going to have that in a government meeting.
What am I to do?
That was a warning. You can continue for the rest of your 3 minutes. If you do it again, I'll ask you to leave.
Well, I don't understand the process. If you can stop the time, please. I don't understand the process.
Okay.
What did I say was vulgar? What did I say was vulgar?
We're not stopping the clock. You can continue the clock.
What did I say was vulgar?
We can have this discussion after the meeting. You have your 3 minutes, and that's it. Let's go.
What happens in reality is people normalize treating black people like dirt. They normalize having a sensitivity to the needs, the aspirations, the desires of African people. They normalize offensive behavior and offensive activities. This city council and this city government has normalized that for whensoever the city of Tampa has been in existence back in 1865 or 1854. And they normalize it. District 5 never had any representation. We don't have any now, and they normalize that. They don't even have a process of appointing someone for District 5. We have qualified individuals, Michelle Patty, Sister Connie Burton, Robin Lockett, that they can say, hold this seat down until there's an election, but there's no representation whatsoever, none. They normalize. In part of my book, I say oppression causes physical regression and mental retardation. When you look over District 5, it seems like all black people are mentally retarded. Seems like we're all mentally retarded. District 5, dirty, nasty, houses ran down, and the only time you see development is when the crackers coming through to take it through gentrification. President Donald Trump said about the conflict that's going on across the water somewhere. He say, this is a quote from the President of the United States of America. He say, they've been fighting so long, they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Daniels, that's it. You're out of order. Please leave the chamber.
Actually, President said that.
Please leave the chamber. Okay, the next speaker is Robin Lockett. We'll come back to Robin. The last speaker after is Charlie Adams, the second.
Good morning, City Council, Chair, City Council members.
Good morning.
I've come here, I wear a few hats, one being the President of Sulphur Springs Neighborhood Association. I would just like to mention in regards to the redevelopment of our community. As we all know, it's a blighted area with Councilman Henderson and a few others, Councilman Bill Carlson, as well as Henderson and Riviera has stopped by and we had a conversation. I haven't spoken to all of you. I've met you personally, but we've had conversations, and I just would like for that fight to continue, and that we continue the efforts to revitalize in the Sulphur Springs communities, because it is greatly needed. Also, I would like to mention in regards to the Sulphur Springs pool and making sure that that stay a focal point for the community, as it was once a community hub for many residents. That's where I learned how to swim at that pool. It's currently closed, so I want to make sure we continue that fight. But more, as my second hat, I'm a director of Kids on the River, nonprofit in the Sulphur Springs community. And as we all know, that the Sulphur Springs community is a food desert, and I've been given authorization from the City of Tampa through Parks and Recreation, Tony Moki, to host a farmers market, or the official Sulphur Springs farmers market at our I would like to call it our botanical garden, It's a small peninsula, maybe 2 acres of land between our natural spring and the Hillsborough River is where I'll be hosting this farmers market to create economic development, a sense of cultural pride, create jobs, etc. And I have one key concern with this, and I was given the authorization to host one event. However, there's no guarantee that I will be able to maintain this farmers market over time. And I would like to, if there's possible, to allow me to have a long-term lease agreement with Parks and Recs in the city of Tampa to host this farmers market, because what I don't want to happen is, I put in the effort. I've been building this market for nearly 2 years. It's never been done, and it wasn't thought of prior to this. So there's a way that I can have a long-term lease agreement with the city of Tampa that will be create a sense of security, for me. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Robin Lockett is our last public speaker.
Thank you, Council. Robin Lockett. First, I want to applaud Sulphur Springs, the community, for coming out and telling their truth. Hopefully, during the upcoming elections, they won't just be a talking point. I just found out from Ms. Robinson, the last person that she's known to come out there from council, it's been from the Greco era. Don't know if that's true, don't know if she missed you, but she's prominent in that community, so she didn't see. But it's good that they're coming out. Tell your story, be seen, and be vigilant. So just continue to tell your story. I want to thank council for gracing us with your presence. Florida Rising, coming out and meeting us and having a conversation. We really appreciate it. We're going to set something up with you, Mr. Miranda, Councilman Miranda.
No names.
Oh, but anyhow, but thank you. Yellow Jackets, still on the forefront. Hopefully something is, we come up with something to make the Yellow Jackets whole. The Yellow Jackets being whole means a building and the park, the field being usable for the senior league. So with that building, they had a 2-story building with their old field, a concession stand on the bottom and an office on the top. Get Coach Wright and the administration out of that trailer. So we're keeping that in the forefront. The budget is coming up. Hopefully something is able to be put in the budget. But we're looking forward to the work that Councilwoman Henderson has started on, and just concluding that as one of her items. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lockett. That concludes public comment. We are now going to move to board administrative appointment. We have a resolution to approve Laura Harrison. Is Laura in the room? Okay, I just want to make sure. I just want to give her courtesy if she was here. Okay. Let's let everybody that wants to leave, and then we'll. Take a pause. Thank you all for coming. Hey, before you leave, I just want to let people know that listened about the band shell at the park. There was actually a line item in the state budget for this by Representative Diane Hart and Senator Roussan. It was vetoed by the governor. So we actually had that in a budget that was vetoed by the governor, FYI. Right. And we are looking at it internally.
The band shell.
The band shell.
Oh, the
Yeah,
band
at Perry Harvey Park. Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco and a second from Councilman Miranda to confirm the appointment of Laura Harrison to the archaeologist member of the Historic Preservation Committee. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, we're going to move to the consent agenda. Public safety, Louis Vieira with, we're going to remove 25 for a separate vote. Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Vieira, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item number 25. It was just a separate vote, right? No discussion? Okay. So we have a motion for, we get a motion for item 25.
So moved.
We have a motion to move item 25, a second from? Second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, we have, one, two, so is,
I'll announce it. Motion carried with Hurtek and Carlson voting no.
okay, thank you. Next is Neighborhood and Community Affairs, Councilman Hurtek,
Thank you.
28 through 38.
Yes, and I want to thank a member of the public for reminding me about item 36. So I would like to approve items 28 through 35 and 37 and 38.
Second. Okay, we have a motion to approve all items except for 36. All the, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
And the reason is, they did bring up the idea that why are we doing this now? If this gets started now, it's probably not even gonna be able to get started until August. So I don't know why a summer youth internship training is coming now
I
instead
had
of.
some background because I actually had the same query. What I was told is this is a reimbursable, so it only reimburses actual expenses.
So these people are already on,
That's how it was.
it's already active,
Yeah,
okay.
that's how it was advised to
Okay,
me.
okay.
So the ayes have it on all items from 28 through 35
Then that's fine,
and
we can
30.
add 36 in there too. I had a question about it and you answered it. So items 28 through 38.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtek, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
May I say
Councilman
something?
Vera?
Thank you. I did want to highlight 34 for Hillsborough County Veterans, Helping Veterans, 25,000. They're a wonderful organization, Mike Odell, and in this year's budget, we're, I know, going to increase, should be increasing outreach to veterans, and this is part of it. So, you know, they're a wonderful organization, especially with homeless veterans, helping pay for bills. And so just good, just to let you all know what we're funding. It's a great group.
And just a reminder, that was already in this year's budget. This is just confirming the agreement.
Yeah, that was passed
Right.
in last September. Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Okay, so we're going to infrastructure. Councilman Maniscalco without removing items 47 and 48.
I'd like to move items 39 through 50, except 47 and 48, which were pulled for later discussion.
We have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilman Vieira. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Finance Committee, Councilman Miranda, 51 through 57.
Move item 51 to 57.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilman Miranda, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Economic Development and Economic Opportunity Committee, we have items 58 through 73. Item 70 has been removed from the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilman Carlson, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Mobility and Asset Management Committee,
Yes.
74 through 80.
I
Councilwoman Hurtek.
move items 74 through 80.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtek, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay.
Move to set 81, 2, and 3 for public hearings.
Second.
We have a motion to set 81, 82, and 83 for public hearings from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilwoman Hurtek. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay.
Move to open the 10 a.m. public hearing.
We have a motion to open the 10 a.m. public hearings from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilwoman Hurtek. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The public hearings are open. This is a non-quasi judicial, so let's move. Okay. Is there anybody to present this item? Item number 84.
Good morning, Carl Brody from Legal. This is second reading for the contractor code of conduct. I think we discussed it last time. It's to address some specific issues, but also to make sure that we're providing the highest level of service. And if you have any questions, I am here and available.
Councilwoman Hurtek?
I just again want to thank you for your work on this. This is something that the public has been asking for quite a bit, and we're very excited to see how it goes. So thank you so much.
Thanks.
Councilman Maniscalco, did you have something to say?
No, sir.
Okay. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak to item 84? Motion to close?
Move.
We have a motion to close from
Second.
Councilman Maniscalco, a second from?
Second.
Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Councilman Carlson, would you like to read items in 84?
Yeah. I was just looking at the flashing lights. Move file number 84, file number E2025-8, Chapter 26.5, ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, ordinance of the City of Tampa, Florida, amending Chapter 26.5, Article 1 of the City of Tampa Code by adding Section 25.5-4, City of Tampa Code of Business Conduct, and said amendment providing for a code of business conduct for parties contracting with the city, providing enforcement through the Division of Equal Business Opportunity, providing for dispute resolution, providing for appeal process, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith, providing for severability, providing effective date.
Second. We have a motion from Councilman Carlson, a second from Councilman Miranda. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're moving to public hearings that require folks to be sworn in. So if you are here on any item that is from 85 to 89, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to provide is the truth and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, we have online people. Item 85, who's here to present for 85?
Good morning, Chairman and Council. This is Leo DeBartolome from Development Coordination. Item number 85 is AB 22503
Leo, we're
for
waiting
the property
hold on, Leo. There you go. Okay, now we see you. Thank you.
Oh, sorry about that. Item 85 is AB 22503 for the property at 2330 West Horatio Street. The request is for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue classification, beer, wine, and liquor for consumption on premises only. Site plan modifications were required to be made between first and second readings. Those changes have been made. The plans have been certified, and a copy has been provided to the clerk, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, is there an applicant?
Good morning, Council. Alex Shaler, 400 North Ashley Drive, here on behalf of the applicant. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, and we respectfully request your approval.
Any questions? No. Okay, is there anybody in the public who wishes to speak to item 85? Can I entertain a motion to close?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion to close from Councilman Vieira, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, can I have Councilman Vieira read item 85, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. I move an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. Ordinance approving a special use permit for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue, consumption on premises only, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcoholic content, beer, wine, liquor, on that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 2330 West Horatio Street, Tampa, Florida, as more particularly described in Section 2, providing all ordinances or part or ordinances in conflict are repealed, providing an effective date.
Second.
And just for the record, for the 85 through 89, I was absent in the first vote. I have reviewed the files and watched the hearings on these, so I'm prepared to vote. Thank you.
All right, second.
We have a motion from Councilman Vieira, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Item 86, who's going to present?
Good morning, Council and Mr. Chairman. Item number 80, this is Leo DeBartolome, Development Coordination. Item number 86 is AB 22505. It's for the property located at 1601 East Columbus Drive. The request is for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue classification for beer, wine, and liquor, consumption on premises, and package sales for off-premises consumption. Site plan modifications were required to be made between first and second readings. Those changes have been made. The plans have been certified, and a copy has been provided to the clerk. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Ms. Shaler, I assume you're presenting for this?
Yes, Alex Shaler, 400 North Ashley Drive. As Leo mentioned, site plan revisions were made on this one, and we're happy to answer any questions if you have it.
Any questions? Is there anybody in the public who wishes to speak to item 86? Can I have a motion to close? We have a motion to close from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from? Vieira. Councilman Vieira. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Councilwoman Hurtek, would you please
Thank
read item
you.
86?
File number AB 2-25-05, ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. An ordinance approving a special use permit, SU2, for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue, consumption on premises, and package sales off premises consumption, and making lawful the sale of beverages, regardless of alcoholic content, beer, wine, and liquor, at or from that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 1601 East Columbus Drive, as more particularly described in Section 2, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are repealed, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Item number 87. Leo, I guess
Good
that's-
morning again, Chairman and Council. Leo DeBartolome, Development Coordination. Item number 87 is AB 22508 for the property located at 2701 North 16th Street. The request is for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue classification, beer, wine, and liquor for consumption on premises only. The site plan modifications were required to be made between first and second readings. Those changes have been made and the plans have been certified, and a copy has been provided to the clerk, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Ms. Shaler?
Alex Shaler, 400 North Ashley Drive. Happy to answer any further questions you may have on this one.
Any questions from council? Okay, anybody in the public wish to speak to item 87? Motion to close, please. We have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilwoman Hurtak. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Please record your vote.
What, I have to read.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. Jumping ahead. Mr. Maniscalco, would you please read item 87?
Yes, sir. I have an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. Ordinance approving a special use permit SU2 for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue consumption on premises only, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcoholic content, beer, wine, and liquor, on that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 2701 North 16th Street, Tampa, Florida, as more particularly described in Section 2, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are repealed, providing an effective date.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Oh, I'm sorry. Please record your vote. I am thinking about lunch.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you so much. Okay, we'll move on to 88, Leo.
Leo DeBartolome, Development Coordination. Item number 88 is AB 22509 for the property located at 1530 East Columbus Drive. The request is for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue classification, beer, wine, and liquor for consumption on premises only. The site plan modifications were required to be made between first and second readings. Those changes have been made. The plans have been certified, and a copy has been provided to the clerk, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Ms. Shaler?
Alex Shaler, 400 North Ashley Drive. I am available for any questions as well.
Thank you. Any questions?
No,
Is there
sir.
anybody in the public that wishes to speak to items 88?
Move to close.
We have a motion to close from Councilman Miranda, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Councilman Miranda, please. Read the item 88.
Item number 88, file number AB 22509, ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. An ordinance approving special use permit SU2 for alcohol beverage sales, small venue consumption on premise only, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcohol content, beer, wine, and liquor at that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 1530 East Columbus Drive, Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in Section 2, providing that all ordinance or parts of ordinance of conflict are repealed, providing an effective date.
What was that about?
She came in with a camera.
I arbitrarily looked to the right and saw you do that. I go, what is he doing? We have a motion from Councilman Miranda, a second from?
Second.
Second from Councilman Maniscalco. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously.
Okay, we moving along to item number 89.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Leo DeBartolome, Development Coordination. Item number 89 is AB 22510 for the property located at 1509 East Columbus Drive. The request is for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue classification, beer, wine, and liquor, consumption on premises only. Site plan modifications were required to be made between first and second readings. Those changes have been made. The plans have been certified, and a copy has been provided to the clerk, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Does council have questions? Hearing no questions. Ms. Schaefer?
Alex Shaler, 400 North Ashley Drive. Happy to answer any questions as well.
Any questions? Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak to number 89? Hearing none, we have a motion to close.
So moved.
We have a motion to close from Councilman Miranda, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Councilman Carlson, would you please read item number 89?
Move number 89, file number AB 2-25-10, ordinance being presented for second reading and consideration. Ordinance approving a special use permit SU2 for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue consumption on premises only, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcoholic content, beer, wine, and liquor on that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 1509 East Columbus Drive, Tampa, Florida, as more particularly described in Section 2, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are repealed, providing effective date.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilman Carlson, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. Please record your vote.
Mr. Chair, oh, excuse me, Mr. Chair. Sorry,
Oh,
I
I'm sorry.
realize the agenda says second reading and consideration, but could we just modify that to second reading and adoption?
Adoption.
Okay, Councilman Carlson, would you please read that portion into the record?
Yeah, just to modify my motion to say second reading adoption.
And adoption, yes, thank you.
Okay. So just to be clear to the public who's listening to that, it's just, it was a Scribner error on the writing we had here, so we just corrected that. It was an adoption hearing. Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Carlson. It was a second from?
Second.
Councilman Maniscalco, please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Okay, well, that concludes the 10 o'clock public hearings. Councilman Hurtak had pulled item 47 and 48. Are we prepared to talk about those?
We have 92 still.
We have 92, okay.
If there's no, Mr. Chairman, Martin Shelby, if there's no discussion because it's a Scrivener's error, you can just read it and vote on it for first reading.
Okay, so this item 92 is a Scribner's error, it's not substantive. Is there anybody here that's wishes to speak to this item? Ms. Wells?
Thank you. Good morning, Kate Wells with the Legal Department. This is simply correcting the legal description. When this was processed many years ago, the site plan did include 2 lots. The legal description unfortunately only included 1, but it was properly noticed. So I see no reason why we couldn't proceed just with the Scrivener's error ordinance today.
Okay, very good. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Any questions? Councilman Vieira, would you like to read item number 92?
Sure. I move an ordinance presented for first reading consideration, ordinance amending ordinance number 2004-14, passed and ordained by the City Council of the City of Tampa of January 8th, 2004, rezoning property in the general vicinity of 4905 Price Avenue in the City of Tampa, Florida, to correct a Scrivener's error by substituting a correct legal description attached to said ordinance as Exhibit A, providing for severability and an effective date.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Councilman Vieira, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, Councilwoman Hurtak is back. Councilwoman Hurtak, you pulled item 47 and 48
Yes.
for discussion.
Oh, is that before the administrative update?
Well, we can do it now because I see Chef Gunn is not here, so.
Oh, okay. Then yes, we'll go ahead and talk about 47 and 48. Okay, give me just a second. So we heard a lot from the public today about this issue, and the problem with the old or the new ordinance, which no money has been spent from, is that when it was approved in 2019, there was supposed to be a reporting component. The reporting component was never done because they said, well, we haven't expended any of the money. The problem is we have been taking in money, and there was also a reporting requirement that went along with that, which they have not been doing. We do not know how much money has been coming in. They were required to put it, each payment into the fund, along with the identifying information of the source of such funds, such as corresponding permit number, and the expenditures, including the type of tree. So by type of tree, it has to be labeled type 1, 2, or 3, or palm. And I mean, there's a huge amount of information that goes into this. So my concern, I would like to pull out the section that, if we go back to the 47 and 48, portion of this is for, a portion of this is to add money to the contract to pay these folks out of the PIPES program. The other is to appropriate money from the tree fund. And I recommend that we postpone moving the tree fund money until we know exactly. And I have asked Mr. Baird, he's provided me a list of the trees, but we don't know the cost of the trees. We don't know where that money's coming from. And as Miss Bennett so clearly stated, in one motion, in 47, it has it as $52,000 coming from Central and 282 coming from south, and in 48, it has the opposite. So it's clearly not, we worked really hard to try to figure this out, but quite frankly, what I plan to do right now, I would like to make a motion that we actually get the tracking for all the money that has come into this, which apparently we have $5 million, and we don't know when it's come in, where it's come in. They haven't followed the actual reporting that they're required to do. So let me just make a motion and see what you all think. Before we approve the transfer of $334,748.48 from the South Tampa and Central Tampa Tree Trust funds, I want to see the data required to create the annual report referenced in Chapter 27, Section 16-86, subsection F, reporting, which states, a tracking and reporting system for each of the 5 trust funds shall be established to track each payment made into the fund and each mitigation tree planted. Annually, a report shall be prepared for each fund and forwarded to City Council with the following information. 1, each payment made into the fund along with the identifying information of the source of such funds, such as a corresponding building permit number. 2, each expenditure from the fund, including the types and numbers of trees. 3, the coordinates or other physical location information of mitigation trees planted by the city with funds expended from the trust fund. And 4, the status of the health of each mitigation tree planted at the 6-month and 1-year mark after planting. These are all quotes from the actual ordinance. And by types of trees, the ordinance is referring to type 1, 2, 3, or palm as stated in table 284.3.2-A, which is the city tree matrix. Both builders and TTAG agree. They want to see the data collected for the 5 separate planning districts, Central Tampa, West Shore, University, New Tampa, and South Tampa, before we make any changes to the current tree trust fund ordinance or we expend any money from the fund.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. Discussion, Councilman Maniscalco.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly support it. Concerns were brought up at public comment. It's not just about, we want to protect our tree canopy, but it's a lot of money. And a gentleman mentioned that some money was going to pipes and, someone compared it to the lottery, how they said that was to fund education or Social Security. We see how that, everything gets rated. So in this case, at our level, our jurisdiction with trees, this kind of tracking and auditing system essentially, I think may put the public at ease knowing that there's an extra, set of eyes on this and we see it and it's transparent. So I wholeheartedly support this.
Councilman Miranda.
Thank you. I agree. This is something that has to be clear, but this way I think we'll clear it up.
Okay. Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, I agree, and thank you to Councilmember Hurtak for working with the community on that research as well. This is, somebody in the audience probably can tell us, but this, since I've been on council 6 years, this is like the 3rd or 4th time that this has come up, that there has been no reporting, and we've asked for it multiple times, and it's not been reported. So when we get ready to go through the Charter Review Commission, we have to figure out maybe what a penalty might be to an administration for not giving information. But lastly, you're going to make a separate motion to continue these, or?
Yes. Well, yeah, this is basically a motion to continue.
No, sorry.
No, it wasn't.
No, you're right.
It is not a separate motion. I'd ask it be 2 motions because you have to deal with these separately.
That's fine.
Your motion, the way it was stated, is quite clear, as long as the clerk gets a copy.
Oh, no, yeah, I've got a very nicely typed out coffee.
Okay, so hold on one second. I briefly saw Mr. Baird pop up. Do you want to hear from Mr. Baird or staff before you speak, Councilwoman Hurtak?
Well, again, we can have 2 separate motions because the problem with the motion, and this is what the community has said, is that right now they put multiple things in one motion. They want to move money from one place and 2 other places. And so I don't have a problem with moving the money for the pipes portion. I just don't want to move the money for the tree portion until we have the report we need.
Okay.
Mr. Shelby. May I speak to, but that's a separate subject. I understand that. Do you want to take that up now? Can I speak to that now or the next motion you intend to make? Because here's my point. My point is, based on what your motion is now, which may, I assume, might pass, you're presented with two resolutions in its present form. Your options are either to vote it up, vote it down, or continue it. You can't make changes and do, if the administration during the continuance wants to do a substitution, they can.
Okay.
If you
then-
defeat it, then they could come back with a different set of resolutions.
So how about this? This didn't have any, why don't we just vote on the motion that I have about the report?
Yes.
Can we do that?
Yes. Okay, so we have a motion. Would you like to, let's have staff chime in before we make the vote. I see. Brad Barrett, did you want to speak to this issue? I'm sorry, to this motion.
Brad Barrett, Deputy Administrator of Infrastructure. We added this tree planting to this contract as a separate item as part of this change order. It was actually an idea that our former Sustainability and Resiliency Officer, Whit Bremer, had. And so we agreed to do that, and the contractor agreed to do that. And we ended up planting 225 trees with the consent of our residents, if they were in front of their houses, to plant those trees, and we did that.
Okay, thank you.
And again, we just want the tracking and reporting to be correct via the ordinance before we start moving money out of this fund, and I think we all agree on that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know,
Mr. Perry, would you?
maybe, Mr. Perry, you can say how we can separate these or do something different. Like I said, I have no problem with moving the pipes portion of this, but the tree portion, we're not going to move the money until we know where it's coming from and where it's going. The reporting was not done based on the ordinance.
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Perry.
Mike Perry, Budget Officer. The mistake on the FinRez is solely my responsibility in the Budget Office. I do apologize. Obviously, we got the wrong tree trust division. We did prepare a substitute resolution, but it does not appear that that's going to move forward. So if you take the tree trust resolution out of the funding process for the pipes, and hopefully Brad's still listening, the Water Department has sufficient appropriation authority to cover the tree planting currently. So.
Okay, so then.
Hold on a second. So what I'm hearing is that you really just need item 47 moved, and item 48 we can, I mean,
Right,
could
but
we
if
just,
Ra-
could we just remove that from the agenda based on what I just heard? Yeah, okay.
No, I don't think we need to.
Not your motion. Your motion is separate.
Let's just move my motion first and then.
Okay, so we have
talk about
we have
the
a, because we've heard that, we've heard staff, so we have a motion from Councilman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous?
And then I will move item 47, which is approving the change order.
That's fine, I'll second that.
Mr. Shelby.
Here for the record, just so I know, there is no reference in number 47 whatsoever to anything related to trees, expenditure of trees or anything related to trees.
Justin Vasky, Legal Department. Line items 2 and 3 in the change order document do reference trees. It references the number of trees and the dollar amount.
Okay, well then never mind. We'll wait on the 47
But I
and
believe
48.
what Mr. Perry was saying, that there's sufficient funds to pay that particular change order, but he can correct me if I'm wrong.
Basically, Mike Perry, Budget Officer, basically the Water Department would be paying for the trees.
But again, I think I would rather just have a more clean ordinance or a clean resolution come back to us.
Okay.
If that's possible. So if we could move it, I motion that we move the amended 47 and 48, if we can.
There's no.
No, there's no amended.
There is no.
No, so would you, okay, hold on a second.
Okay.
Let's see where we're at.
Where are you, Justin?
What else besides trees is in 47 and 48 that you need moved?
Well, once again, he got the change order right here.
I just got the first page.
Right, but still, for instance, this is Justin Vasky, Legal Department. The change order has like paving.
Can you put it on the wolf?
So there's a variety of items here that are subject to this change order. And obviously, as you can see, CO 1-3 and CO 1-4.
Okay,
Those are the trees.
Can I suggest, can you all come back after lunch with a cleaned up version of this that we can move?
Well, we don't, if you're asking this, if you mean the change order, you know, the ultimately, the
Well, just
contractor has to be
what
paid.
council has to move that does not include trees. Just a concise document that shows exactly what we need to move that does not include trees.
Andrews, I'm in legal department. It includes trees, but it doesn't include how the trees are being
Yes.
paid for.
Yeah, we have
So
to
if
do the
you're
charter.
okay with approving it and you just want to keep apart the fact, the use of the tree trust fund, you're doing that by not approving 48. You can still approve 47.
So we can approve 47, and it does not take money from the tree trust fund.
That is correct.
Okay.
So move 47 then, or there was already a motion.
Yeah, we already had a motion to move 47.
Second.
And a second from Councilman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. Is that clear to everybody? Because
No.
I'm as clear as mud to me.
No, it isn't.
We approved the plan is 47, the money is.
I get that, but I mean.
Yeah, but
Okay, Mr. Shelby.
If council has an issue with the ordinance, with the resolutions as presented, by the basis of your first motion, then it is not appropriate then for you to move 47 and 48 until those items are addressed to your satisfaction. That could be done by a substitute ordinance. That could be done by defeating these or rejecting these and have the administration come back with something else, or it comes back with continuances.
So some person in staff that can speak to this. Is there something that's detrimental to the contracts or that you're doing that we continue this to the next meeting?
Well, Justin Vasky, Legal Department, my concern is that we have certain statutory timelines to approve change orders. And it's only getting more restrictive as the legislature passes laws relevant to that.
But on this
So-
particular item, are we within a statutory obligation on this contract if we continue this to the next regular city council meeting that we have a?
Yes, potentially, as of July 1, there's a change to the change order.
then after lunch.
Okay, can I indulge you all to come back to us with something that's trimmed down and cleaner that does not include the trees, that is a concise resolution that this council can pass?
Does that require a change to the change order? Is that what you're
Well,
stating?
and that's what I'm trying to clarify here. What you're asking is to delete line items that need to be paid in this change order.
And I think that needs to be addressed, and perhaps I can conference with legal and they can come back and explain this after
So
lunch.
can I get a motion, can I ask Councilman Hurtak, would you consider not moving your motion, this motion, until after lunch?
Well, the first motion, yeah, no, 47
Yeah, no,
and
the first one
48.
passed. No, I'm saying about
Okay.
moving 47.
Before I go forward, the thing that was not in my motion was the date I want this back, and that is October 9th, 2025. That gives 4 months to do the tree report.
Let's come back to that, to the continuation for that, in 1 second.
I just
But
thought it'd be
but
cleaner
right
for
now
the
on the
clerk.
floor, though, we had moved 47 with the second.
Okay, sorry.
So I wanted.
Then I will rescind my motion
Okay.
and instead make 47 and 48 come back after lunch.
And Councilman
First
Maniscalco,
thing.
are you okay with that?
Yes, sir.
And staff and Mr. Shelby, would you all get together and just come back with something that's a little bit more concise and easier for us to understand after lunch, that we can move on? I would appreciate it, so we can work on that after lunch, okay? So is that
Chairman,
fine
if
with
I may?
council by
Yes.
consent,
Chairman?
unanimous consent, that we're gonna take this up after lunch?
Yes.
Okay. Very good, thank you so much. Okay, Councilman
We need to
Hurtak,
vote-
you would like?
We need to vote on that.
No,
Why
you
does
don't,
unanimous
it's by
consent?
unanimous
Unanimous
consent,
consent.
without objection.
Without objection. Okay, and you would like to amend your motion for continuation to include
Yes,
the date?
to October 9th, 2025.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Hurtak to add October 9th, 2025 to the continuation request. We have a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And also just to say that if staff has any questions, just reach out to me, but the ordinance is pretty clear.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Okay, it is 11:10, and even with that, we are way ahead of schedule.
Mr.
What
Chairman,
is the
I can
pleasure of
add,
council?
Other things on my motion sheet that I will get.
What's that? Yeah, really.
Mr. Chairman, I can move something along that was, that's on the staff report that doesn't require staff. That's number 95. That's a big ticket item.
Okay, can we have a motion on item number 95?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Vieira. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that's moved to item number 95, unanimous.
Ashley Street? Can we do Ashley Street?
My question, my suggestion would be to see who from staff is present in the chambers or online that could address whichever item.
Is there anybody in staff that would like to deal with their staff reports as now on the agenda? Anybody would like to present any staff report? Mr. Bennett, would you like to do your administrative update?
Absolutely, Council.
Okay, perfect.
101.
And that's item 101 you're going to include in the administrative
Mr.
budget.
Chair, if I may,
Councilman Viera.
after that's finished, do you mind if
Yeah,
I,
coming up.
because I don't know if he's going to be here next week, if I introduce my intern after it's done for like 30
Absolutely, yeah,
seconds?
absolutely.
Thank you.
Just
Just
remind me
before.
once it's done.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Bennett.
All right, good morning again, council. Good morning to the public. John Bennett, Chief of Staff. At council's request, I wanted to come back in. I know a couple memos have been filed, but it was been requested, and there's been some offline singular discussions about this topic. So I was asked to come in and maybe just talk about what I think we all agree on is continuous improvement in local government, especially as it pertains to our personnel. For the public awareness, we have nearly 5,000 employees in a city that serves 400,000 plus daily influx of another couple 100,000. I've mentioned in council before, every other Monday I get the pleasure to introduce both council, the administration, and all of our branches to new employees as they enter the workforce here. We've had over 100,000 applications in this administration. We've hired about 3,000 against that 5,000 through normal attrition. And we look for anything that is problematic, systemic, et cetera. And again, all the feedback that comes out in this room and, of course, through the administration is looked at for opportunities. Some of those opportunities were highlighted in the addendum memo that I sent in through our office before this session. So a couple of things. One is I know anonymity sometimes is important in complaints, so I wanted to make sure that we reinforce that there is an anonymous hotline, both for fraud and employee issues. Once that goes through the city audit department, then it gets triaged for its next step. It could be, if it's fraud, it could continue in the audit department. It could be a criminal investigation. It could be outsourced to a legal investigation. A myriad of things could happen through that process, but it starts there just to allow, whether it's the public or a citizen or anybody, to call that hotline. Again, it's managed and overseen by the city audit department as a process, not solely that they handle the work or report to the administration, that it's just an intaking measure. Of course, we have many other intaking measures, but I want to make sure I cover that one. Next, I wanted to thank council and especially the legal department and the administration, of course, everybody in the support side that allows these outside contracts. That gives us a plethora of opportunities to do unique investigations or escalating investigations. So, that's going to be something that we think, working with Andrea's office, is still an evolving best practice as needed. Again, with 4 generations in the workforce, there's so many different dynamics, and I'll lead into that in a second, of where we want to go with employee satisfaction, morale, et cetera. I can tell you that during COVID, trying to telework under a continuity of government, continuity of operations is very challenging, as you can imagine. I mean, council was moved, employees were moved, technology processes were shifted to get us through the COVID period. As that settles, then you have storms that disrupt things. And so again, there's always going to be some sort of challenges in local government, and to allow that to settle to a degree, get a good survey instrument from a standardized methodology to make sure that we're doing the best we can for the employees is just another facet. So we'll be looking into that and trying to figure out what the best tool coming forward, which usually is an elongated process and typically a pretty healthy budget item. So we want to keep exploring that. And lastly, I think Andrea is here to reinforce some of the things that if council gets a complaint, all the different channels to pass that complaint to this triage process, whether it's the ethics office, the HR office, the city clerk, the city auditor for the anonymous. Like I did one day when I heard something, I launched something right away to make sure that the triage process started and the follow-up happens. The last thing I want to talk about, which I was asked to do, was discuss escalations. And what I mean by that, even though about 3,800 or 5,000 employees are in some sort of bargaining unit, whether it's the ATU, the IFF, or the PBA, they all have rules of engagement to file grievances, get follow-ups, escalate grievances. But they also have processes for civil service hearings and, of course, arbitrations that are binding. So all these things can continue that process to the desired outcome. Not to mention, there's outside processes that can be used, and employees can move in those directions with that guidance. Even above that, there are, even if you're outside the bargaining system, there's opportunities for employees to be treated fairly in a grievance process, and of course, an escalation process as well. Again, big organization, a lot of things, a lot of moving parts, but I believe in our HR department. I've been here since 1984, and I've seen a lot of good outcomes. The other thing, too, is, everything on Monday, and I said this in this room before, I tell those employees that if it gets to my desk because it's important and it escalates, I will personally stop everything I'm doing, take a look at the case, and make sure that it tries to get the proper justice lane going. And at the same time, we don't make discipline decisions in a vacuum. They all come to all of the administrators, each case, to make sure there's fairness across all departments on different things, especially in severe cases. So I'll pause there and see if council had any questions.
Okay, before we get to council questions, I just want to caution everyone, you all know that I have a lot of experience in labor and also HR. There's a lot of things that are happening. If cases are being heard, we don't want to discuss specific cases because they could be in litigation. We don't want to discuss actual individuals that are things. So if you have broad questions about policy, I think this is an appropriate time to talk about it, but don't delve into anything specific at council. I saw Councilman Carlson first.
Yeah, first I want to thank Chief of Staff and the City Attorney. Chief of Staff and I have had 3 or 4 long conversations about this. City Attorney has sat in a couple of them, and we've had long discussions about all this. What's happened over the last few months or a year is that I've gotten a lot of calls and emails. In fact, at times who's in the room, they pull public records, and so unfortunately, those are all, I send them to the public records people, but they're really disturbing when you listen to the complaints and you want to help employees. We've heard employees come before us in public comment. We had a letter last night from the fire union, and we had another letter last night from another former employee. And the overriding themes are that they feel like there's not an anonymous, safe place that they can go to make complaints. And then the word that comes up over and over again is retaliation, and they're worried about retaliation with the administration. By making a complaint, they're worried that someone in the administration is going to retaliate against them. And there are many examples, which I'm not going to give any specific examples. The charter, as City Attorney will tell us, the charter drastically limits what City Council's role can be in any of this because the mayor clearly is in charge of the administration. We can encourage, we can lobby, we can have discussions about it, which we've done several times. The result of these conversations is that the Chief of Staff, he's just outlined some things, but he's pushed to make the hotline, to make sure that the hotline is fair, objective, and not a place where somebody rats somebody out and somebody gets retaliated against. I hope that's true in that process. He's using the legal contract that was approved to go ahead and investigate some of these, and I'm not going to mention names, but there are investigations going on some of the allegations that have been made by current and former employees. And then he's committed to create a survey at some point. Again, I hope the survey is anonymous and objective, and it's not used as a PR thing. I think I'm a PR person, and at any company I work with, the number one thing you should do is identify what the problem is, put it on the surface for everybody, and then talk about what you're going to do to fix it. And if we try to bury it and say everything's fine, in such a big organization, if we have 95% of the people that are happy, 5% is a lot of people that are unhappy. And when people talk about words like retaliation, that's really concerning. I think the Chief of Staff in earnest is trying to address it. If employees, former or current, have ideas on what we can do with our limited powers, I would love to hear them. I'll continue to tell the employees I'll continue looking for ways to improve this. I'll continue having conversations with the Chief of Staff. And then when the charter revision time comes, we probably need to put something in it that gives City Council a way to let off the steam, because if you listen to the voicemails and the emails, it's really disturbing, the information we've gotten. Also, I went around with the city attorney on what our obligations are if we get a call. And the original advice I got was that all we can do is refer them to HR or tell them to get legal advice. We're not allowed to get involved in either of those, but we can give them that advice. And that's what I'm continuing to do. There was some language in the last memo that implied that we have an obligation to automatically turn over all these. If somebody calls me and claims retaliation by the mayor's office, I'm not going to turn it in. And I don't know if Andrea can make a comment on that, but you can sue me if you want, but I'm not gonna, if someone says that they're afraid of retaliation, I'm not gonna turn it over, because I think employees should be protected. I will take the legal advice, which is to tell them to talk to HR or a lawyer, but I'm not gonna get involved in their case. But I'm not gonna intentionally cause somebody to put themselves in a position that may cause them to get harmed. But thank you to Chief of Staff for working on solutions, and hopefully they'll be able to improve things going forward.
Thank you, Councilman Carlson. Did you want to clarify those comments?
Yeah, I think, just to clarify, well, a couple of things, just to level set.
I'll state your name first, please.
I'm sorry, Andrea Zellman, City Attorney. As Chief of Staff mentioned, almost 3,800 of the 4,700, whatever, city employees are members of a union. And so I want to make sure everyone understands, I've heard comments that, well, the only place people can go to is HR, and that's not true. Everyone involved in a union has the right to seek a civil service hearing. They can, in certain cases, go to arbitration. All classified employees can seek a civil service board hearing. So just to make that clear, where reporting to HR is in fact required under, and that's what I believe Councilman Carlson referred to just a moment ago, is in our personnel manual, and that's in cases of discrimination, harassment, and retaliation. And our personnel manual requires that anyone, any city employee who hears, receives a complaint of that, of discrimination, harassment, or retaliation is obligated to report it to HR for investigation. And then HR is obligated to investigate. That was in our personnel manual. It's been there for years. Recently, in our settlement with the Department of Justice, in a case that involved the parental leave policy that was misapplied, allegedly misapplied in 2017, 2018. Part of our settlement agreement with them beefed up that portion of the personnel manual, and also imposed obligations on the city to report all claims of harassment, retaliation, discrimination to the Department of Justice. So yes, it's my opinion that every city council member who receives a complaint of harassment, retaliation, or discrimination is obligated to report that to HR. So what I would suggest to you is if people are calling you or emailing you and saying, you need to tell them up front, if you are telling me that you're being discriminated against, harassed, or retaliated against, I will have to report that to HR. So, you know, my suggestion is you do so, but I do believe you're obligated, and, you know, I can't say what will happen if you don't do it. You know, we're not going to sue a council member, just to be clear. But it is an obligation we have. It's an obligation we have now with the Department of Justice under that settlement agreement.
Ms. Zellman, that would be my question. Is the internal City of Tampa policy based on state or federal statute?
I believe that a lot of it is based upon requirements in anti-discrimination statutes. I don't know if Rebecca can clarify that. But also at this point in time, the specific language of the specific personnel manual policy that I'm talking to was written by us in coordination with DOJ.
And
they had to approve it before we could adopt it.
Okay.
You want to clarify anything, Rebecca?
It's not that the language where we encourage our employees to report complaints, that's not based on state law. However, if an entity is getting complaints and they're not investigating that, that presents a problem and that presents liability.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, what you meant, state your name, please.
I'm sorry, Rebecca Johns, Legal Department.
Yes, okay, very good. Councilman Carlson, you want?
Yeah, the problem here is that, and I'm not gonna bring up cases, but, city attorney and I and chief of staff and I have had lots of discussions about cases where I've observed that the investigation of HR seems to be arbitrary, and in some cases punitive. The issue is the threat of retaliation. The employees say that they're afraid that the HR and then the mayor's office is going to retaliate against them. And so if they come to us as city council members and say, we need help, we don't want to have to quit the city, but we need help, and we're afraid of the administration retaliating against us, and then we turn it over to HR, they feel like we breached their confidence because that's going to cause them to be retaliated against. And then who's going to investigate that? You mentioned the unions. I've had discussions with all three unions. Only one of them has put their opinion in writing, and they said also they're afraid of retaliation and arbitrary process. So I think the spirit of what the Department of Justice said is we need to protect and provide defense of civil rights for employees. By the way, the paternity case that you mentioned, which we had to pay a $400,000 settlement, $300,000 settlement. That was the one against the last mayor who the city named, the mayor named a building after yesterday, despite our rule that a person should not get a building named after them if they have a civil rights violation. And I know you interpret that differently, but I think the community doesn't like it that we're somehow rewarding civil rights violations. There were 3 civil rights investigations in the last administration by the United States Justice Department. The most recent one was stopped by the Trump administration, but that doesn't mean that it's not valid. What it sends a signal to the community and employees and former employees is that we don't treat civil rights seriously, and we put big signs up to reward people who committed civil rights violations. So I don't know. Maybe we need to go back to the Justice Department and try to clarify this, or maybe we as City Council and the Charter need to modify something, or maybe we need to pass an ordinance. But if an employee comes in good faith and says they're afraid of being retaliated against by the mayor's office, I think it would be not a good idea to put them in harm's way by turning them in. Thank you.
Councilman Vieira.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. A couple of things. I mean, I think this can be very easily solved, which is we have 3 unions that are not afraid to make their voices heard. And if to have an inquiry on behalf of any Tampa City Council member, or made by, any Tampa City Council member on what processes can be done to improve this, to hear from the unions, to hear from ATU, to hear from 754 and from PBA on that, I think that's a very quick and efficient way, because it is their duty to advocate on behalf of their workers, and they pursue that duty with vigor. I don't think anybody denies that. You know, I would, again, I said this last time, that you always have to be very careful, again, as an elected official, when you get into an HR case, before you know it, something that you say could be mentioned in a lawsuit complaint, in a pleading that's filed in the 13th Judicial Circuit Court. So, I've been through something like that, where sometimes you think with your heart and not with your head, as an elected official, and you do the right thing, but there are processes by which things go, and all that. So we always have to be very careful, but it's incumbent on the unions to let us know if anything needs to be remedied or pursued. And again, I'd be glad to entertain that, because that is important. We obviously want to make sure that all of our employees are heard and everything. But there is a line between taking a look at policy for all employees and then getting involved in one particular situation. It's a careful line that we as elected officials, I think, should observe.
Chief Bennett.
John Bennett, Chief of Staff. I just want to echo some of the comments that have been said and all the different opportunities. I have yet to have the union not call me 24 hours a day on anything that they felt was escalating. And then I'll work it back to the department and figure out where everything lies in the middle. I have yet to, I get briefed on all major investigations as they start or stop, or at least get triaged. And all of them have been, again, done what I've seen. I haven't seen anything that has, broken out of that model. And again, I think all the checks and balances, as good as they can be, are in place. But I'm going to end with the way I started. We're always open to continuous improvement. We're always open to articles in the contracts that make sense and are sustainable and actionable for this process because, you know, we can't run a great city like we all do together without great employees. And they need to feel safe and healthy, and their welfare is very important to us. And, you know, I think we've taken that seriously as a council, as an administration, as a community through some very trying times over the last 6 years. So I'll just leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no further comments, we'll close that item. Okay, very good. Okay, Councilman Vieira has a request for a special privilege.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Wes, if you want to come forward, you may, sir. I wanted to introduce to council, it's nobody's fault but mine that if y'all haven't met Wes, he's a great young man. He goes to FSU. He's here from Tampa, and he is, correct me if I'm wrong, Wes, you're looking at potentially becoming an attorney, potentially.
Yes.
And he'll be here for the remainder of the summer. And you know, Wes and I went out to Starbucks and where we had a really awesome, almost 2 hours, hour and a half chat on a lot of things, including music. He plays in a band.
Lord.
I know, right? He plays in a band, and they play a lot of Led Zeppelin songs and everything. So he, you know, he's a really cool young man, and he'll be with us before. He'll be with us in good times and bad times before he has to ramble on out of here. You saw that,
Just
right?
don't take singing lessons from him.
You saw that, but I know what I'm doing. But Wes is just a fine young man, and I don't know, Wes, I'll put you on the spot. If you want to say anything, buddy, you may.
I just want to say it's good to meet all of you that I haven't already, and it's good to see all you guys again that I have. It's always a pleasure to be here listening in on meetings. I feel like I'm learning a lot, and I'm really glad to be working here. So I really appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you, Wes.
Thank you.
Do you play?
What instrument?
Oh, I play guitar and I sing. I play guitar, the electric guitar, and I sing.
Maybe you can give him singing lessons.
I need
Good.
him,
The
trust
next,
me.
when is the next, what is it? The karaoke?
What, the karaoke. So yeah, so we're looking at August 1st. Yes. Yep, we're looking
Mark
at
your
August.
calendars, folks.
Yeah, bring it on. So we hope you're there, man. We hope you're there.
I think I'll be there.
Bring it
Good,
on. Bring it on.
Councilman Miranda.
Before we depart for lunch, I'd like to introduce Mary
you, Wes.
Bell.
Thank
Mary's
you,
a
buddy.
graduate of Leonard High School, and guess where she's going to college? One of the greatest universities in the world.
Thomas Jefferson?
Florida State University, baby.
Another FSU person. Wow.
Congratulations.
Very good. Welcome. You want to say anything?
Thank you for having me. And I plan on majoring in political science, so this is an amazing opportunity. And I've learned so much about the process that's been going on, so thank you.
Very nice. Well, welcome. Very good. Okay, so it is 11:34. We are way too ahead of schedule. So how about we entertain this idea? Break for lunch till 1 o'clock and come back with item 94, which is the Unite Ashley project. We'll do that before the public hearings.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay, so we're going to have a break for lunch, and let's please have our butts in the chairs not at council 1 o'clock, at regular people time 1 o'clock.
Tampa traffic.
Yeah, not at New Tampa. We have another intern. Hold on, wait. We have another intern to represent. Come on. Oh, she's gonna make you introduce yourself?
Yes.
Oh, that's cruel and unusual punishment.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Dario Peacock. I work in District 5 for the Summer Youth Program with Ms. Darlene. I'm thankful for the opportunity to learn and see what it's like to work in City Council.
Thank you. Welcome. I see how you are, Darlene. I see how you are. Very good. Okay, so we're going to break, and we're going to come back on real 1 o'clock. Butts in the chair, ready to go with Unite Ashley. Okay?
Under Janelle.